What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Exposé coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. And I'm your regular host, Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge.
Welcome to Exposé, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church, and I'm your regular host, Akinyemi. Don't forget, our axiom is, what we need is not more medication, but more education. And that's why we're educating us on the causes of disease. Today, we continue in our series on the etiology of disease, looking at it from both a biblical worldview as well as a natural health standpoint. And we have looked at one cause, 9 symptoms. In other words, for every one mineral or trace mineral that a person is deficient in, that can generate at least 9 different symptoms. We have looked at a trace mineral like selenium and all the different deficiency symptoms that can be generated in a person's body if a person is deficient in selenium. Now, I'll give you some homework to do. Just go online and search it. Which foods are rich in selenium? And I'm not talking about processed foods that have been fortified with selenium. I'm talking about natural foods like seeds and nuts, fruits and vegetables and grains that are high and rich in selenium. Find them out so that you can include more of them in your diet. Number 2, we have looked at zinc deficiency and what it can lead to in the body. In fact, we did not conclude on that during the last episode, and so that is where I will be taking off from today. What are the different symptoms that deficiency in zinc can generate in a person's body? In fact, it's more than 20 different symptoms that zinc deficiency can generate in the body. We looked at loss of sense of smell last week, loss of sense of taste. We looked at failure of wounds and ulcers to heal, severe body odor. We looked at depression. We looked at hair loss or alopecia. We looked at anemia, a weakened immunity, and low sperm count. Men that have low sperm count, it could be due to zinc deficiency. When people see me as a nutritional consultant and they have low sperm count, when men have low sperm count, one of the strategies that I use to help them to bolster or boost their sperm count is to introduce the kind of food that is rich in zinc into their diet. I encourage them to blend ginger into their smoothie. It's rich in zinc. I encourage them to avoid polished rice and take brown rice or fada rice, which is rich in zinc. I encourage them to eat cucumber, to eat carrots, to eat fresh tomatoes. All of these things help to boost sperm count. And I've seen some people quadrupled their sperm count. In other words, times 4 of what they used to have by the time they start eating these things. Now, I'm going to continue today with some congenital birth defects that are associated with zinc deficiency. If a woman of childbearing age is deficient in zinc as a trace mineral, and that woman gets pregnant and delivers a baby, there is the possibility that that deficiency in zinc in this mother can create certain problems in the offspring, in the babies that woman will give birth to. And some of the things I want to mention now are problems that some babies are born with. They are called congenital birth defects. They come to this world with these defects in their body. They were born with it. That's why it's called congenital. And the reason they have those defects is because when their mother was pregnant with them, the mother was deficient in zinc. all right? As simple as it is, it can create problems that parents will live with for the rest of the life of that child. One of those congenital birth defects is what is known as cleft palate or cleft lip. If you see a child born and the lip here is cleft, in other words, as if it is sliced, and you see there is one side of the lip here or here, that is cleft lip. Then the palate is that thing that looks like biscuit bone that is right there, up there. That can also be cleft. So when you see a child born with cleft palate or cleft lip, one of the causes, I want you to always pay attention to my language and my choice of words. One of the causes of cleft palate and cleft lip is zinc deficiency in a woman when she was pregnant for that particular baby that has a cleft palate. Then when you have clubbed limbs, that can also be caused by zinc deficiency. So mothers, you see why your diet should be very balanced, particularly 6 months before you get pregnant and throughout your pregnancy, and even during your breastfeeding months, when you are breastfeeding that baby. Your diet must be rich, your diet must be balanced, so that you are supplying to the baby, to the fetus in your womb, and to your infant that you are breastfeeding all the nutritional factors needed to prevent diseases, to prevent defects and deformities in your child. Another congenital birth defect that can be caused by zinc deficiency is Down's syndrome. Down's syndrome. Now, some of you are already familiar with children that are born with Down syndrome. If you don't know what it is, just go online and Google it. I mean, when you see the face of a child with Down syndrome, you know it. I mean, if you are somebody who is familiar, you just know it. Once you see a child that has Down syndrome, all the features are there. Those children have certain defects. They have developmental retardation, okay? They are not able to grow up as normal children and lead normal lives. They have dental problems, they have cognitive problems, in other words, brain development problems, and so many things. They are so much dependent on caregivers almost throughout their their lifetime. So Down syndrome, in the past, they used to think that when a woman is too advanced in years, before she started having children, maybe a woman conceives and has a child in her 40s or maybe in her 50s, then there are more cases of Down syndrome among such women. But that Down syndrome doesn't affect the children of younger women. That was in the past. Nowadays, they have found out that both younger women as well as older women are giving birth to children with this defect called Down syndrome. Of course, it is a genetic defect, but that genetic defect is usually triggered or occasioned by zinc deficiency. Is that all right? That's one of those things that can happen when a woman is deficient in zinc. And then when a baby is born with small eyes or absent eyes, micro or anophthalmia, okay, the eyes are so tiny inside or they are even absent, no eyes when the baby is born. That can also be as a result of zinc deficiency. You can see so many things that can happen when a child or a mother rather is deficient in zinc. See, nutrition, diet plays a big role in our health and well-being as well as wellness. And so we cannot trivialize these things. We need to pay attention particularly to the micronutrients. When a baby is born with agnathia, that is, the baby has small lower jaw. The lower jaw is so tiny, okay? The upper jaw relative to the upper jaw. That is another problem that can happen as a result of zinc deficiency. Then when a baby does not develop limbs or digits or certain organs, or there is what we call atresia. In other words, there is no anal opening. No anal opening. The baby is born and there is no anus. There is no place to poo-poo from. That is a condition known as atresia. Now, that can happen to an infant, a defect that a child can be born with if the mother is deficient in zinc. See how powerful that can be? Then webbed toes and fingers. That can also be caused by zinc deficiency. Or extra limbs and digits. You have a baby that is born with six, six fingers or 6 toes, or you see a 6th one hanging right here, that can also be contributed to by zinc deficiency. When a baby is born by a mother that is zinc deficient, the person can have heart defect or even lung defect. I mentioned the other time, I think that was during last week's episode, I mentioned the idea of cystic fibrosis that can happen to a child when the mother is deficient in selenium. Now, when the mother is also deficient in zinc, it can also lead to lung defect. The lungs will not be fully and properly developed. These are all the different things that can happen when there is a deficiency. Now, what about vitamins? We've talked about mineral deficiencies. What about vitamins? Now, selenium deficiency, zinc deficiency, those can lead to all kinds of problems, deficiency symptoms. Now, I want to talk about a few vitamins, vitamin deficiencies, and the kind of symptoms that they can generate in our body if we are deficient in these very important vitamins. Again, don't go away. I'll be back very shortly to continue this very beautiful and wonderful, informative conversation about the role of deficiencies in disease causation and prevention, and how when you supplement with these things or eat foods that are rich in them, you can actually mitigate. You can help to reverse and you can help to improve the condition of those who are suffering from these deficiency situations. See you soon. Don't go away.
I believe you've been having a terrific time with me on Exposé with Tony Akinyemi. We have great resources that will bless your life available to you on healthy living and many other life subjects. We have various platforms where you can obtain material for your blessing. You can obtain some of our work, our books, particularly on Amazon.com. How to Regain and Retain Your Health is a book title that I highly recommend. It's available in digital format, Kindle edition, as well as in printed version. We also have juices and smoothies for healing, health, and pleasure. You can also find these items at another website, familabooks.com, F-A-M-I-L-A books.com. And for those of you who are in Nigeria, you can reach us at the Shepherd Store, 18 Shogunle Street, off Mobolaji Bankantoni Way, behind SFS Place, to get our materials. We have over 600 recorded audio CDs, DVDs, VCDs, and MP3s on various subjects. All these things that I teach on Exposé are already available in their complete format. How to reverse hypertension naturally, how to reverse diabetes naturally, how to reverse arthritis naturally, and many other wonderful titles. I encourage you to visit this website, Amazon.com, familabooks.com, or TSF bookstores in Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria, and you will be blessed reading those materials and sharing them with your friends and family. Thank you once again. God bless you.
Welcome back to Exposé, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. I'm your regular host, Tony Akinyemi. What you need is not more medication, but more education. And that's why we are bringing this information to you for your transformation. For to be uninformed is to be deformed. Now, many of you who probably didn't know many of the things I'm saying here to you, I'm sure you are looking at me and saying, wow, we didn't know all this. Now, if you knew it before, I'm reminding you right now, because sometimes we know some things, but we don't take them to heart. We just gloss over them, and we continue to live life as if they are inconsequential. But when these things are known and you live your life based on the knowledge and the information that you have, you can actually prevent many disasters in the future. Okay, many parents can prevent troubles in their children's lives, in their children's health, by taking into account the role that nutrition plays in laying a solid foundation and giving a good head start to a child as far as their journey of health is concerned once they are born. So mothers, before you get pregnant, including fathers, make sure you prepare at least 6 months before you conceive to clean out your body, detoxify, to nourish your body, to make sure everything that the baby needs to do well is available in your body through your diet, of course, and avoid all toxic substances, tobacco, alcohol, processed meats, and processed foods, so that the body is ready. So when that baby is formed inside that very wonderful body, that baby will thrive, that baby will do well, that baby will be born without any deficiency situation or any defect for that matter. Now again, if a mother is deficient in folic acid, by the way, is one of the water-soluble vitamins. If a mother is deficient in folic acid and she's pregnant, and she carries that pregnancy through and delivers that baby, there are possibilities that the baby can develop certain defects due to folic acid deficiency in the mother, okay? So congenital birth defects that are associated with folic acid deficiency includes things like neural tube defects, such as spina bifida. Again, how do I explain that to everybody? Those who are not in the medical line will not understand that, but it's a neurological problem. It's a neural tube defect. That is defect in the central nervous system of a child that makes that child either to die at birth or not to be able to thrive or become a vegetable for life, even if that child doesn't die. Why would you let that happen to your baby that you're expecting? That's why there should be no folic acid deficiency. So once you are pregnant and you go for antenatal, one of the things that your gynecologist or your doctor will recommend to you to take during pregnancy is usually folic acid, among other things. And I know some women who will say, no, I don't take medicine, no, I live by faith. Therefore, they collect the folic acid, they put it in their locker, in their drawer, they don't touch it throughout the 9 months. You are putting your baby at risk, very serious risk. Now, folic acid is not medicine. Folic acid is a vitamin. It's a B vitamin. Ideally, you should be getting it from your food. But because we know that most of the food that we eat these days are very low in some of these vitamins and minerals, that's why supplementation is important. So when they give it to you during your antenatal, they are trying to make sure that you have these things in your body so your baby is not affected, so you don't have these congenital birth defects such as neural tube defect like spina bifida. You know, you can see a child that is born, and at the back of the head here, the skull is not fully formed. There is a kind of hole, opening. Only skin is covering that part of the head. There is no bone, no skull to cover that place, only skin. And so the brain, part of the central nervous system, will now be protruding and bulging like a ball, small ball at the back. So it's like the brain, you can touch it, you know, and only the skin is covering it. And that's how spina bifida manifests. And a child born that way is not likely going to survive. Another problem that folic acid deficiency can lead to is encephalocele, which is the tube fails to close near the brain, and there is an opening in the skull. That's another type. The brain and membranes that cover it can protrude through the skull, forming a sac-like bulge.
Life is a game board. Time is your opponent. If you procrastinate, you will lose the game. You must make a move to be victorious. And that move is synergy.
Welcome back to Exposé. This is Tony Akinyemi, your regular host. We're looking at vitamin deficiency syndromes. In other words, congenital birth defects that are associated with folic acid deficiency. I've talked about neural tube defects that can happen when a woman is deficient in folic acid during pregnancy. The effect is going to have on the baby that the woman gives birth to: spina bifida, encephalocele, and the third one that I was going to talk about before we went on break was hydrocephalus, which is accumulation of fluid in the brain. Of course, there are several other factors that can cause that: trauma to the head, infections, and so on and so forth. But what I'm saying is that folic acid deficiency is also one of the contributing causes to hydrocephalus. Now, so vitamin deficiencies as well as mineral deficiencies can cause all kinds of symptoms, disease symptoms in the body. The same way that macronutrient deficiencies can also cause problems. For example, when the person is deficient in vitamin C, they call that scurvy. When the person is deficient in vitamin D, the person can have weak bones and weak teeth. And you have such children developing bow legs because of low level of vitamin D in their body. Because these days, children are not allowed to go out and play in the outdoors, in the open, particularly the children of the affluent and living in the city centers. Children in the village run all over the place and they play under the sun and they get a lot of vitamin D as a result. So their bones are strong, their teeth are strong, and what have you. Then when a person has protein deficiency, that can lead to kwashiorkor, okay, protein deficiency. When you have deficiency in fats and oil, that can lead to some neurological disorders as well. So the point I'm driving home strongly in this series is that there are 7 natural factors that can lead to disease. And number 1 on the list of 7 is deficiency. We are looking at different examples just to illustrate how when a person is deficient in certain things, certain nutritional factors, it can lead to certain diseases. Now, let me also zero in right now on psychiatric disorders that are associated with vitamin deficiency. Psychiatric disorders. For example, you probably have heard about postpartum blues or postnatal depression. Postpartum blues or postnatal depression. Now, postpartum means after a woman has given birth to a baby. Post-childbirth. Immediately after a woman delivers a baby in the maternity ward and then she comes back home, she has a bundle of joy, that wonderful baby girl or that wonderful baby boy that she has. And she should ordinarily be so happy, so excited that God has added another bundle of joy to the family. But when a woman is suffering from postpartum blues or postnatal depression, you see that woman becomes depressed, that some of them are even a threat to that baby. Some of them are so depressed that they have to be well catered for, otherwise anything can happen. Sometimes vitamin deficiency can cause postpartum blues or postnatal depression, particularly vitamin B3, which is a water-soluble vitamin, as well as vitamin C. And these water-soluble vitamins are more readily removed from the body, so we can easily become deficient in them. Fat-soluble vitamins like vitamins A, D, E, and K are more readily stored in the body for later use. But water-soluble vitamins are not stored in the body. You have to get them in on a regular and consistent basis in adequate amounts every single day. You have to get them inside your body. If you get more than you need into your body will take the portion that it needs and you will wee out the remaining one. Your excretory system will excrete it and flush it out. But when it comes to fat-soluble vitamins, your body can store it and use part of it tomorrow, use part of it the next day until it's exhausted. But for water-soluble vitamins, vitamin B, B1, B2, B3, B4, like that, and vitamin C and folic acid, those ones don't stay. They are not stored. They get out. So it's easy for you to become deficient in them if you don't eat them regularly in your diet or supplement with them daily to make sure you are not deficient in them. So when a pregnant woman is deficient in vitamin B3, niacin, by the way, niacin is also very good in regulating cholesterol level in your blood. When you are deficient in vitamin B3, your cholesterol will go up. But when you have enough supply of niacin or vitamin B3, your body will combine the niacin with the cholesterol and with other cofactors to produce certain antioxidants in your body, such as SAM-E and glutathione. So your cholesterol level will be low because the cholesterol is being converted to antioxidants. But when you don't have enough vitamin B3, then your cholesterol is not being converted to antioxidants, so it stays very high in your blood, and you have hypercholesterolemia. In other words, your cholesterol level is elevated more than necessary. So you can see that psychiatric problems can even arise. Symptoms that mimic psychiatric disorder can happen when a person is deficient in certain vitamins, particularly vitamin B3, vitamin C, and vitamin D3. D3 is called the sunshine vitamin. That is the vitamin that enhances your mood, that gets you excited. When you are low on vitamin D, you have a tendency towards depression. That's why when you are an indoor person, you don't go outside to receive sunshine. You are more prone to becoming depressed, even if you're a billionaire. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how much success you have recorded in life. You are not getting enough sunshine. You are deficient in vitamin B3. You are deficient in vitamin D3. You are likely going to sink into depression. Now, postpartum blues or postnatal depression usually affects women immediately after they give birth to a baby because during the 9 months of the pregnancy, the amount of vitamin B3 that the woman is getting may not be sufficient for both mother and the baby in the womb. And you see, nature always prioritizes the baby over the mother. So if baby and mother, let's say they need 10 milligrams of a particular vitamin, maybe the mother needs like 6 milligrams and the baby needs like 4 milligrams. So total, both of them need 10 milligrams. And all that the mother could get in a day in her diet is 5 milligrams. You know what nature will do? Nature will allocate the total 4 milligrams for the baby in the womb. And it's only after the baby has taken its own, and the remaining 1 milligram is what will be allocated to the mother. So the mother that needs 6 milligrams is getting only 1. But the baby that needs 4 milligrams is getting the entire 4. So you see the mother becomes deficient. So if the mother is not getting adequate nutrients for herself and her unborn baby inside her womb, the baby will be given priority by nature and get its own need met first. In fact, if there are certain things that the baby needs to develop its brain, and the mother does not have those things inside her diet, the body will go into the brain of the mother and pull out those nutrients and bring it to develop the baby's brain. So you see the mother's brain is depleted. So the mother is being robbed to pay the baby. That's the simplest way I can illustrate it. Once that happens, then you see the mother is getting depleted and depleted and depleted and becoming deficient in many of these nutritional factors. The moment the baby is born, you see the mother sinks into these symptoms, postpartum blues or postnatal depression. There's another condition known as schizophrenia, as well as another one called bipolar disorder. These are all psychiatric disorders. It doesn't mean that the people are mad. I'm not talking about insanity here. I'm talking about mental health issues. And these things can be occasioned also by vitamin B3 deficiency or vitamin C deficiency. In fact, I have worked as a nutritional consultant with a couple of individuals that have dealt with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And apart from adjusting their diet, what I recommend for them, I recommend vitamin B3 niacin, I recommend vitamin C, and I recommend vitamin D3, I recommend folic acid, B12, B6. And by the time they take these supplements, along with a changed diet, in addition to whatever treatment they are getting from anywhere, they usually get better results and better outcomes at the end of the day. All right? So it's very, very important. Now, let me talk about deficiencies and why they occur. Why is it that despite the fact that we are eating and eating, we eat breakfast, we eat lunch, we eat supper, why are we still getting deficient in certain nutrients? That is a big question. I will highlight the number of things that lead to deficiency or make deficiencies to occur. The first one is our cooking methods. The way we cook our foods can deplete our food of the nutrients that God packaged with them when He created them. Many nutrients are thermosensitive. That means they are sensitive to heat. Thermo means heat. So thermosensitive means sensitive to heat. In other words, when you heat those nutrients to a certain level, those nutrients will be damaged. And you have to make sure that you don't destroy those nutrients by cooking them appropriately in an appropriate manner. Sometimes also, the way we cook our food makes the nutrients in the food to leach into the water. Like, for example, you are boiling your yam, you peel the yam, you put the yam in water, add salt, and then you boil it. Some of the minerals in the yam will leach into the water, and then you throw away the water and eat the yam. You have lost some of the minerals that God, in his wisdom, put inside the yam because of the way you cooked the yam. That's what I mean by we lose certain of our nutrients from our food due to our cooking methods. I don't have time to elaborate on that, but you need to understand that the way you cook your food will determine the amount of nutrients that will be left inside that food by the time you finish cooking it. Okay, our food processing methods is another reason that we lose most of the nutrients in our food. You take your food from the farm, you take it to the factory to be processed, and by the time they process it, oh my, they take it through all kinds of assaults and insults, and they add all kinds of things to them. By the time you are done, you don't have food left in that thing. All you have is taste. The thing is very tasty now, and then the shelf life can be extended. Something that should normally spoil within 1 week or 2 weeks can now be on the supermarket shelf for 2 years because of the chemical preservatives and all the different things that they have added to it. They have added artificial flavors, artificial colors, they have added seasoning, they have pasteurized, they have added emulsifiers, they have added anti-caking agents, they have added all kinds of excipients. And all these things have already compromised and contaminated and depleted the food. That's why processed food for me is not the thing when it comes to nutritional, balance. Processed food doesn't normally give you what you need. So this is my axiom. Eat food from God's plant and avoid foods from a manufacturing plant. Once you pay attention to that, that settles it. Bring your food straight from the garden to your kitchen. And even in your kitchen, the way you prepare your meals, the way you cook your food must be such that you don't damage the nutrients before it gets to the dining table. So cooking method, food processing method. Another reason why there is deficiency in the food that we eat today is because of our modern day agricultural practices. In fact, it's getting worse and worse by the day. When we do modern day farming, we use a lot of agrochemicals. Pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, chemical preservatives, and all of that. Fertilizers to grow our crops, and all of these things produce food items that are toxic on the one hand and low in essential and vital trace minerals and nutrients in particular. Then nowadays we have introduced another crazy dimension, which is genetically modified organisms, GMOs. GMO foods do not supply as rich nutrients to us as organically grown foods will supply. All right. And then mono diets is another reason that people have deficiencies. Some people just like one particular type of food. They can eat it 3 times a day. They don't like to eat a variety of foods. If you are eating a mono diet, only one type of food every now and then, you like rice, or eba. Definitely you are going to be deficient because that single type of food that you are eating cannot supply all the nutrients that you need. It will supply the type that it has, but it cannot supply the type that it doesn't have. And then so you are going to be deficient in the other nutrients you need from other kinds of food. That's why I always advocate that you eat the rainbow. Eat something red, something orange in color, something yellow in color, something green in color, and so on and so forth. When you eat the food varieties from different colors, different classes of food, that will bring an assemblage, a collation of all the different nutrients, and you are not likely going to be deficient. And then poor digestion is another reason. Some people are actually eating a balanced diet. They are doing their best to eat right, but their digestive system has become lazy or weak or compromised. They cannot break down their food and digest it thoroughly. And so they cannot absorb the nutrients inside well, because if you don't break it down, you cannot absorb it. That's digestive problem, poor digestion. So you need to work on your digestive system to ensure that it is working optimally in order to avoid deficiency. Another reason for deficiency is poor food assimilation. It's called malabsorption. Malabsorption. Some are eating right. they are digesting the food right, but their body is not absorbing the food right. Of course, there are food absorption enhancers that you can add to your food to help to absorb them. That's why when you see cultures that use a lot of spices, herbal spices in their food, they are able to absorb their food better. Something like black pepper, for example, contains pepperine or bioperine that is a nutrient absorption enhancer. Anything you add a pinch, just a pinch of ground black pepper to, the nutrients in that food will be better absorbed in your system. When you take, that's why when you take turmeric tea, or you add turmeric to any of your preparations, we also ask you to add a little black pepper to give you the pepperine or the bioperine, and also add a little oil, because you see some of these nutrients are fat soluble, that if there is no oil present at the time you ate them, your body cannot absorb them. So when you take turmeric and there is no oil or fat present, no avocado, no coconut oil, no olive oil, no palm oil, no oil to accompany the turmeric, you are going to poo-poo almost the entire turmeric that you ate. You need a little oil to go with it as a nutrient absorption enhancer. A little black pepper as a nutrient absorption enhancer. And then another reason for deficiency is toxicity. Now, for example, if a cell is already loaded with toxin, even if you eat the right food and the nutrients are to go into your body, the cell is already full. There's no space for the nutrient to go in. So toxicity can prevent nutrient absorption, and that can lead to deficiency. These are all the various reasons that we have deficiencies, okay? And that's why we must do everything possible to make sure that we mitigate these things and have good absorption of nutrients so we don't suffer deficiency. This is how far we can go today. Unfortunately, we have not finished our conversation on deficiency. We are still going to have another episode to cap it all before I move on to the next one, which has to do with abuse. 7 things that cause disease in the natural realm. Deficiency is number 1. Abuse is number 2. Toxicity is number 3. Injury is number 4. Infection is number 5. Sedentary living is number 6. And stress is number 7. We are just dealing with number 1 since we started, which is deficiency. We're going to finish that next week, God willing, and then we'll continue to the second cause, which is abuse. Thank you for your time with me today. Again, let me remind you to please remind your neighbors and your friends and family to subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the notification button, and also follow us on Facebook and on Instagram, and like us on Facebook. Once you do that, you will always be alerted whenever we come on board, and you won't miss any of these episodes. I pray that in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, you will spend the rest of your years in good health, and your health will keep improving and improving and springing forth like the noonday, now that you are armed with the information you need to make the journey of life and enjoy wellness and well-being. What we need is not more medication, but more education, and the best prescription is knowledge. God bless you.
What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Exposé coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. And I'm your regular host, Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge.